Well, welcome to the couch, Peggy.
Hello.
Hi girls. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming. Do you want to start like that? Or do you want me to start it?
You start.
Okay.
Go on.
We always start with the same question.
Okay.
What's your biggest for fuck's sake moment you've had in your career business to date?
I don't think there's one moment. I think there's like literally for fuck's sake moments in real estate every day. Definitely like every time you get a building report back, every time you get a council file search back at the moment. I just, you know what? I hate it when people cancel appointments at the last minute because people like spend so much time preparing their home, and I just hate that. That's one that really makes me go, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
You're allowed to swear.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This is not a
safe
podcast.
place.
It's not a PG rated podcast.
No, definitely not.
Oh, wow.
I have to tick a box that said this is not made for children. So
Yeah.
you're safe. You're very safe. So for those listening that may not know yet, can you tell us a bit about your journey into real estate? Like what drew you to the industry in the first place?
Yeah, so it was kind of random. When I look back and think about it, it makes sense. But at the time, it wasn't something where I grew up and was like, I'm going to be a real estate agent. So I think I had a really big mental block when I finished school, especially down here, where I was like, what am I going to do? What do I want to do? And just nothing was coming. Like I was just like, So I went out there into the workforce because like back then to just get a full-time job down here, like it was so quiet that if you got a full-time job, you were like winning. And I think I had like 3 or 4 part-time jobs at the time. And I actually had landed in my lap my first full-time job, which was a manager of a retail store. And it was there working at that store that I realized that I was really good with people and I was really good with sales. And I sort of found that for me, I wasn't really trying to make sales. I was just enjoying talking to people and I would make sales.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, okay, sales is something I can do as a career. And after a couple of years of managing for that company, I just realized like there was just absolutely no way I was going to be able to buy my own house and sort of on a retail wage. I was like, I'm not going to be able to, have the future that I want to have. So I started thinking, okay, well, I like people. I'm good at sales. Like what's a job that I can do where the harder I work, the more I'm rewarded for it? Because one thing I noticed about being on a salary is that I was working harder, but I was still getting paid the same as everyone else. And I didn't like that. And there was you couldn't work more hours and get paid more either, so I didn't like the idea of a salary. And that's when I clicked, real estate's something that I could do. And so as soon as I had that thought, I started researching the industry and I started researching locally who was the best agent in town. And at the time it was LJ Hooker. And I rang up the company and said, I'd like to have a meeting with the boss. I was 21 and made a big resume up with, all the stuff.
Bold.
Yeah, like when I think back now, I'm like, wow, that was like, I was so confident. Proud. I like walked in there like, I'm ready to be an agent. And to his credit, he actually said to me at the end of the interview, I think you'll be really great in sales. And the next time a job comes up, I'll give you a call. And the thing that's actually really cool is that a week later, he said, my top sales writer's resigned. You're hired. And the person who had resigned was my now boss, Christine Ewan. So Christine left and I got her job. So that's how I got into real estate. So full circle now.
Wow.
I think us as young people, when you look back and you hear and you're like, was that me? Oh my God.
You're like, wow, I was so ballsy.
So ballsy, yeah. That's so
and now you're like, I'd never do that.
Yeah, I would do that.
I mean, I've been in the same career for so many years now. I'm like scared to like the thought of a new job. I'm like,
imagine going to an interview for like something completely new.
Yeah.
I mean,
terrifying.
I'm pretty good in interviews because every time we do a listing presentation, it's an interview, right? Because it's like, hire me to sell your house. But I would be so daunted by having to learn a new industry. Like you get comfortable when you know an industry so well, and it's so much easier because you have all the answers. Whereas if you have to go into something new, you got to do all that all over again. No.
So was there a moment, obviously you got the gig, and then was that for you knew that was going to be a career, or was it still just like, I'm going to have a full-time job where I'm winning?
I definitely wanted, like, the thing with LJ Hooker at the time was they did this really cool thing, and it was called the Future Champions course, right? Oh. And to be hired at that company, basically the boss was like, you have to do a personality test, you have to go to this week-long course in Sydney, and then if you pass that, then you've got the job, right? And the course was like $5,000, which I had to pay for at the time.
Wow.
So it sort of made me be like, okay, this is not just a full-time job. This is like a completely different elevation from what I've been thinking of career-wise. And when you go away to the corporate big LJ Hooker and they do that training thing, they're talking about agents up there that are writing hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're talking about how it can transform your life in 1 year. And it sort of clicks for you of like, wow, if I'm good at this, this is what other people are doing. So it was probably like going up to that headquarters and doing that week of intensive training where I went, okay, this is actually like, if I'm good at this could really like be a career that could set me up for life. And I think that was when it changed for me. And I became like super motivated to want to be like, you know, to have it as a career. So yeah, it definitely, like initially I thought, you know, I didn't realize how big it was to become a real estate agent. And then it sort of clicked, and then it was really scary after that.
So you've been in the top 1.5% in Australia.
Yes.
I've done my homework, Peg.
Yes. And that wasn't out of every agent everywhere would like it if that was the case, but it was for the company that I was working for at the time, which is LJ Hooker, and it is one of the biggest franchises in Australasia. So I was really, really proud of that result. So that was really, you know, that was really exciting for me to make that sales level. And yeah, I think that it's just one of those things, it's just staying in the industry. Like it's grinding like year in and year out to get to that point. I think when I hit that, I had been in the industry for 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think that there was like a key to getting to that stage, just the grind, or was there something within that you were?
I mean, look, definitely I think every single year I set higher goals for myself in what I want to do around like the service I want to provide, the results I want to get for clients. And I think I invest every year in different corporate training to do. Like I've had training with, you know, Tom Panos, who's really well known. I've done training with Josh Fegan, and he trains Alexander Phillips. It's the #1 real estate agent in Australia. So I've done training at every network that I've worked for. And I think all of that, I think year on year, always being committed to improving. And always setting the bar higher for yourself. If you can do that year on year, what happens is that you're always producing good results for your clients. And sorry, I think that's my phone. And then
typical real estate
agent. I know. I'll put it on silent.
She's busy.
I'll put it on silent in a second. And I think those in real estate, those results stack up. And so that creates repeat clients. And so every year you've got more people coming back to you, and that helps you to achieve those kind of
compound
numbers.
interest almost.
Yeah, you're making clients for life instead of just trying to find new clients all the time.
So real estate can look pretty transactional from the outside. How do you build long-term relationships instead of just like closing deals?
Look, I think it's all about your intention. So, you know, when we have a new client like come to us to work with us, my intention is always to find out what it is that they're trying to achieve, and then do what I can to achieve that goal. So if their goal is, you know, our family's gotten bigger, we want a bigger house. I'm like, okay, we're needing to sell them out of this house at a certain price to get them into this house over here. And so I just focus on what I'm trying to help them achieve, which is more personal than just getting that deal done. And I find that if I focus on that, if I focus on the client and what they're trying to achieve, and obviously I've got to reflect back to the market, right? Because we can't just, if someone's like, I want $3 million, we can't be like, cool, we'll get you $3 million. Like I've got to do my part where I, you know,
it's got to be realistic too.
I've got to educate them on whether it's doable or not. But I think if I'm focused on helping people achieve that goal, then it's easy, because there's always people that need help with houses, right? And so sometimes I'll go out to some clients and they'll say, you know, we want to sell this and move here and have this much left over. And I'll have to say to them, that's not possible. That's not going to happen. This is where you are here, and this is what this costs over here, and this is what commission is, and this is stamp duty. And so if you're always coming from a position of, I'm here to help if I can help, and my job is to let you know what's possible and what isn't possible, sometimes your job is saying to someone, hey, that plan's not going to work. You should stay in your house. And like letting the sale go and knowing that that's not actually something that you can help them with. And I think if you're always doing it from that perspective, you're not really attached to the transaction. If you can help them with it, great. If it's not, if you can't, then that's fine. You know, if they change their mind about selling, it doesn't matter. And I think as long as you're coming from that perspective, then it really just becomes where people are like, I've got a real estate problem. I go to my real estate agent because I know that that agent is always there to help me. They're not there to make a sale, right? And so that's how I've always tried to come at it.
That's a good way to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what sets you apart.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is the next question. People see a sold sign and great photos. What they don't see is the reality of being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
What is that?
I mean, look, I find the reality of being a real estate agent like mostly pretty fun. Like I love the girls that I work with. Like for me, one of my biggest values is freedom, and I am ADD. So for me, real estate is like, it works for my brain and how I am. And I mean, but for some people it would be like torture, the reality. Like for me, I don't ever switch off from work. Okay. Like when I was in labor, I was messaging a client back because I was like, I'm just lying here in bed anyway. So someone had rang me. And I was like, I may as well write back. But to me, it's not like some people would be like, oh, they're messaging me. That's so annoying. Like I never feel like that. I never feel like if I can't get back to someone in that moment, I won't. Most of the time I want to. I have everything set up. I like to just constantly keep on top. Like some people like this idea that they're going to have 2 days where they don't do any work. Whereas for me, I'm like, no, I just always want to keep it going. Just keep on top of what I'm doing. So it's just like, for me, it's just like built into life, you know? And because I've been doing it since I was 21, I don't know any different.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
so
not like you've come from some other career.
Yeah, like so there's people like people often say to me like, oh my God, that would drive me crazy. The things that would drive other people crazy don't drive me as crazy. There are things that I find hard. The things that I find hard, it's not so much the actual job, it's certain aspects of how people treat you in the job. That's what I find hard. But the actual job of it, I quite enjoy it. And no, when I was on maternity leave and like no one was contacting me, I was a bit like, I'm sort of lonely. Like I had like I'm so used to talking to people all the time and interacting, and you know, like I did miss that. So, you know,
when you say the way people treat you, like as in clients or other agents?
Oh look, agents are ruthless to each other, and like I don't really like. I kind of just laugh about that kind of stuff now. I used to get like upset about stuff back in the day, but now I just think it's funny.
Yeah,
but it's just more like I think it's more like, even though people want you to put your heart and soul into it for them, you do have people that really come at you from an angle of like, you're just trying to get a deal, you're just trying to make a sale out of them.
Trying to make money.
You know, and I find that really hard. You know, if I have a buyer, for example, who's disrespectful, who's expects way too much of my owner, or they're unreasonable, or they chop and change their mind, and I'm trying to hold a transaction together and keep everyone happy, I can find that really, I struggle with that because I hate letting people down. And by the same token, sometimes things fall apart and things go wrong. And if you have a client that's very critical on the other side, no matter what you've done, you can't please them. That's the kind of stuff where I, you know, because I strive to get good results all the time, I think that's probably the one aspect that, you know, no matter how many years you've been doing it for, as long as if you care about what you do, that stuff's always going to bother you.
Can I just jump back to an episode that we did?
Whack me. Go for it.
I want to see Peggy's answer to this. So we were talking about goals in one of our recent episodes.
Yeah.
Shelby's goal for this year is to be more present with her children.
Yes.
How do you feel about the word presence?
Presence.
As in like with family, friends, kids.
Yeah. I mean, look, I find it sort of like it's easy for me. Like when I'm with my family, I'm with my family. When I'm at work, I'm at work. And, you know, I don't know, I'm so good at going between the two worlds now. I never used to be. But I also did this career for like nearly 10 years before I had a family.
Yeah.
So I was like I sort of had it under control to a degree before I had a family. So for me, I find that if I'm talking to a client, I'm present with them. Once the phone hangs up and I'm with my family or the kids, I'm present with them. So I can...
But you're with your kids and your family and the phone rings and you know it's an offer. Are you taking that call?
I will let it go to voicemail. I let a lot of calls go to voicemail, and that's not because I don't want to talk to people, but when you get to a certain level of time management, you learn to...
You can triage it.
Yeah, you learn to let things go to voicemail because you might be like, okay, I want to hear, number one, is it an offer?
Yeah.
How urgent is it? And, you know, Bubs is going down in half an hour. So I let a lot of things go to voicemail.
Yeah.
I listen to the message, then I shoot a text and just say, hey, I'll give you a call in an hour. And then I go back to being present. If it requires me to answer straight away, which it rarely does, I will answer straight away. But I find majority of the time I can let that call go through, still be present with my family in that moment, and still respond in a really timely fashion to somebody by just knowing, you know. And I have on my voicemail too, I have like, you know, leave me a message or send me a text.
Yeah, it's my preferred method of contact.
Yeah, because I get back to people super quickly, but you don't always have to answer in that second. And sometimes you answer and then you go, I'll have to think about it, I'll call you back. And I think we may as well just listen to the message.
Yeah.
And then you can find out what they need to know and get it all back to them
Absolutely.
in the call. So, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that was very off topic, but I just wanted to see
That was a good question.
Peggy's reaction to that one.
Obviously, like buying/selling a house is quite emotional. Do you take on, like, are you an empath? Do you take on that emotion for your clients, or are you very separate to the emotion of it all?
Definitely not separate to the emotion of it all. But one of the most important parts of our job is not to take on our client's emotion. It's called second vendoring. If you get to enmesh with your client emotionally, you can lose your business sense on it, and you can end up giving them advice that's maybe not good for them, because your client might be saying, I love this house, I love this, you know, I need to get this price, rah, 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 rah. And you might know logically as an agent that price is, you know, it's maybe one in a million. You have to put the business hat on, right? And you need to say to that client, hey, I want to get you that price too. We're going to know in this initial period whether it's there. And if it's not there, it's really important that we understand that we have to then look at our strategy, because if we don't and we sit on the market for 6 months, our price is then going to drop even lower. If you get too emotionally involved with a client and then you feel scared to tell them the truth, from a business perspective, like from a financial perspective of what needs to happen. And I see this happen with agents all the time, is they become friends with their client and they get too scared to tell them the reality and the truth about what needs to happen. And then they just sit it there, and then they start to ghost their client. Like the client rings, they don't ring them back. And then that client misses the boat with selling, ends up having to then change to another agent, spend more money on marketing, etc. So I care about my clients, but the way I think of it is if I really care about them, I have to be focused on getting them the best result and keeping them in touch with what really needs to happen. And I think that's really something I learnt after the first couple of years, is that, like, you know, you have to be the one with a business hat on. That's what you are hired for.
It's the same in cosmetics. It sounds weird, but like, you know, they're a patient and you build a therapeutic relationship.
Yes, you're like, I know I love you, but you can't have any more lip filler. I'm sorry, I'm putting it I'm putting it in. No, I mean, cosmetics is really important because it's someone's face, right?
100%.
Like, you can't ruin.
And it's very emotional, and you can't help but love them, but you will be a better cosmetic, I will be a better cosmetic nurse if I put the business hat on. It's really good advice, I think, probably for everyone. A lot of different industries. You can still really
care.
Love them, but
you can really care about somebody and really care. The way I always say it is like, I care about you, and that's why my focus is on getting you the best result, right? Because the best result and the most amount of money in your pocket, that's what you hire me for. You don't hire me to chin wag with you every afternoon. Like, I'll chat to you, but you're hiring me to get you out of this sale with as much money as possible, with as least stress as possible. And so that's what I focus on, and that's how I show my love to my clients.
Perfect. How do you navigate the highs and lows of the property market without letting it shake your confidence?
I think it's just time in the industry, because I used to be like this. Like, for years I was like,
not navigating.
I was up and I was down. I was up and I was down. Especially in my 20s, like, we used to have like meetings with, you know, our bosses, and they would be like, your months of commission would be like this: one high, one low, one high. And all the focus was always like, what happened here that you had a bad month here? And it was always like, oh, you know, I priced this one too high, or I got upset about this, or I did this. And so I think it's only natural when you are still learning in the industry that and even people, you know, that I see come in the industry that have been successful in other industries when they first come into real estate, like, it is a roller coaster of emotions. It is full on. Like, I've seen like grown men cry. I've seen like so many people cry and just be like, and they'll say to me like, how come you don't let any of this get to you? And I'm like, because for me, it's like, I've surpassed 18 years of this roller coaster. So now I just know, like, if something happens and it stresses me out or it upsets me, I just go straight to a solution. Okay, what's the solution? What's the solution? I don't go down into that place of that low energy. I just go, okay, that's really frustrating. What's the solution, and how can we fix this problem, or what needs to happen now? And you just learn that over time. There's no magic pill.
It's easy to get really caught up in like when you're like selling like really, you know, expensive homes or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
It's easy to really jump on that high and be like, this is amazing. And then be like, fuck.
Yes. And I think that's the thing, like, you know, it's funny because I definitely don't have like the low lows anymore. But then on the other side, you know, when you are still in those initial early stages and you sell a really expensive property, it's like the biggest high in the world. Whereas now it's almost like I'm at a level where, again, like because I'm focusing on the clients more so than the result, I'm happy for the result, but it's not, I don't get this huge like high from a sale anymore because it's like, for me, it's all one long process. You know what I mean? And it's like, it just goes round and round forever. You know, so I'm not.
It's not like the dollar value so much. Yes. It's more like, did I get the best outcome for them?
Yeah, is the client happy? Did I get a good outcome?
Yeah.
Like,
did I meet their
goals?
goals?
Did everything go according to, was everything seamless? Did everything run well? You know, was the client not stressed? Like, you know, sometimes, honestly, like, and I was just saying this the other day to the girls in the office, and, you know, Kate will agree, she's been in the industry for a long time. Sometimes the people that get the very best prices actually are the most unhappy. Like, they give you the worst review, or they don't give you a review, and you're like, wow, I got them like a record price and was over asking. And like, you get nothing. And then sometimes you'll have like someone, a real sweetheart, you know, that's just selling, you know, a little unit somewhere. You got a good result, but you know, it was nothing to write home about. And they're like, you know, they'll say to you, thank you so much. You really made my day. Like, and so I think you do get to a point after a while in the industry where you like being appreciated. And it's not so much about that big dollar sale. Like, yes, that's great because people see that and they want to list with you because of it, but it's not what's fulfilling. What's fulfilling is the clients that really appreciate you and the people that you really got to help. Like, we've had one this week where we've just sold a house for a lovely lady, and she lost her partner. She's an older lady. She lost her partner just before Christmas, and her daughter, I bought a house from. I've sold 2 houses for. This is her mum's place. And she said, you know, I'm going to get mum to come live with me. We really need to get the best price. And we actually had an initial pricing strategy. And at the last minute, I decided to increase the pricing strategy because I felt our database for that price range was quite beefy. And I'd rang and said, look, I want to actually increase your pricing strategy. Is that okay? I said, I'm not guaranteeing it, but I just want to give it a go because I know you need to get as much as possible. And she said, well, I trust you. And we actually slid the range up and got the high side of the range within 4 days. So we actually ended up getting like way over our expectations. And, you know, it was just so nice because my client, she's in her 80s, like she was so stressed about moving. So for me, that was such a win because not only did we get over the expectation, which meant that she didn't have to go into the original building she was going into, she could move into the building with her daughter, but she only had to be on the market for 5 days, which she doesn't drive, she doesn't leave her house, you know, she didn't have all that stress. And the new people who purchased it love it, like it's perfect for them and downsizing. So I was like, that to me was such a good transaction.
Win.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was
love
just like,
that.
felt so fulfilled about that. And a client that I've helped before.
Yeah.
So that was really good.
Someone comes back around.
Yeah.
What lesson have you learnt the hard way?
Taking things too personally.
Yeah.
Definitely taking things too personally, and reacting. Like, I think being very reactive, like to things.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting better at that. But yeah, like sometimes when things go wrong, or, you know, especially when people are in the heat of the moment, which, as you were just saying, Shelby, like real estate is so emotional for our clients. Sometimes that will get directed at you. And I always remind myself, it's not actually about me. They're obviously struggling in this moment. And like the younger version of me would be like, get upset or say something like, you know, back to them, like, you know, this isn't my fault or whatever. Whereas now I just sort of like try and hold that space and say, like, I understand that you're really frustrated. It is really frustrating. Like, but I'll say, you know, I'm going to be here to help you through it. I don't take it personally anymore. And it took me a while to get to a point where I didn't react, where I could say, okay, this isn't about the situation that's happened today. This is about a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the time now, when that happens and that emotion gets directed at you, if you can do that, so often I'll have clients come back to me the next day or even that night and say, I'm so sorry, you know, this has happened and this has happened and we really appreciate you and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm so grateful now that I don't get caught up in it, because it's easy for me to be like, you know what, it's totally fine. It's okay. I understand. And I hope everything's okay. You know, so that, I'm glad I learned that lesson.
Like, I guess some people, I mean, I don't know if this is just like common But I think that a lot of people wouldn't realize that real estate is like a real estate agent. It's almost like running your own business. That's kind of why we asked you like onto the show, because even though you work for an agency, the way that you kind of do things is different to the other agents, and that's what kind of sets you apart. So when did you start thinking of yourself as not just an agent, but this was like your business?
I reckon I really went into that mode when I left Rain and Horn in 2020, because at Rain and Horn it was very much like about doing everything the Rain and Horn way, and everything was very like everyone had to do things the same, and it was all very restrictive. And when I left there and I went to LJ Hooker at the time, I'd said to the boss, like, I'll come across, but I don't want to be managed. I don't want to be having to do
Leave me alone.
a certain way. Like, if I come over, I want to be able to do things my way. I want it to be my team, how I want, and blah, blah, blah. It's pretty, like, forthright about it.
I've always been pretty ballsy with them.
And then he was just like, yeah, do whatever you want. That's fine. We just, like, want you to come and work here. And I was like,
we're used to you from when you were 21.
And, and so that was the first time I had a boss that was like, yeah, do what you do and do however you want to do it. That's great. And, like, didn't try and micromanage me. So, you know, I was lucky that I got given that opportunity. And then I haven't really looked back since then. I invested in a social media coach at the time who is really well known in the industry for doing just social media for real estate agents specifically, and that really elevated my business as well, because she did a lot of lead generation through the back end over the COVID period. So it really took my business to another level, and I started investing in a lot of things I didn't invest in before. Marketing, Samantha came back into my team. We hadn't been working together for 2 years at that point, and she was invested in my team as well, and so it became like, you know, the two of us against the world kind of thing. And that really changed everything. And that was the following year was when I made that 1.5%. So it was changing that mindset of like, okay, this is my business. Once I went into that mindset, that's when my results elevated as well, because I wasn't restricted. I could branch out and do all of the things that I wanted to do.
Who has supported you most through the highs and lows of your career?
I think definitely Sam. Sam's worked with me now. She started first working with me.
Sorry, Peg, for those that don't know.
Yeah, so
who's Sam?
Sam is my, she's more than a personal assistant, but she's my personal assistant. She started being my personal assistant way back, I think in like 2012. Okay. So she has worked with me.
Is that where you first kind of met? Or like you knew of each other?
No, do you know what? It's really funny because we actually became friends working at the Cat Club together.
Wow.
Yeah, we started working all my friends worked at the Catalina Country Club in the restaurant, and Sam was actually the manager there. And it was my second job. So I had like my full-time retail job, and then at nights I worked at the Cat Club, and that's how I met Sam, and we would all go out to the Bayview together. So we were all in a friendship group. And then when I got into real estate, I think at the time Sammy and I were still friends, and we used to still see each other on the weekends, and she said that she was doing at TAFE like a year-long administration course, and she was like, I want to get out of hospitality, I hate working nights. And so when I made enough sales, my boss said, you can have your own personal assistant now. I actually rang her and said, do you want to be my personal assistant? Do you want to get into real estate? Because I knew she'd just done all that administration work, and she was like, yeah, I'd love to. And so she came into real estate originally to be my PA, but we were already friends. We already knew each other before that. So, you know, it's funny because where I go, Sam goes. Like, she moved back from Canberra to be my PA when I went back into the industry and went to Ray White. Like, she came to LJ Hooker. Like, she's where I go, she goes. And it's sort of like people just know like that Sam and I work together. So
you're like the work couple.
Yes, we're like, you know, we're like sisters. We're like family. Like we get along really well. We know each other really well. And then when
we argue like sisters as well.
When we have a fight, it's just like two sisters having a fight. It's like, you know, like. We don't fight as much. And then the next day,
fine.
Yeah, and then 5 minutes later, we're fine. We're like, okay, well, you know, that was unnecessarily what I said. So, but it's I couldn't do it without her. She's definitely supported me through the ups and downs, and yeah. So very lucky to have her.
Beautiful. No. Shout out to Sam.
Yes.
Yes.
She doesn't even know she's being mentioned on the podcast.
Oh, really?
Just another thing that she's in.
I know. And for those of you that don't know, Sammy's also my sister-in-law. Yeah. So there we go.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover crossovers here.
There's a bit of a crossover.
And Emily also now does my social media. Where, like, and, you know, and has put flooring down in my investment property.
It's a small town,
my mum build a house.
And we've sold a couple times through Peggy.
Yeah, I was like, what else? What new business can you start that we use you for now? Yeah.
So let's jump into going on maternity leave. You just had another beautiful little baby.
Yes.
How do you go, like, stepping away? You touched on it, but let's go there.
Towards the end of pregnancy, I was like, I just cannot stand up anymore. Like, I was so relieved to go on maternity leave. Like, I was like, I just need to lay down.
If I could work horizontal.
Yeah, totally. I said to Christine, if I could lay in a bed in this office, I would have kept working right up. I would have been like,
next minute, Sammy's at the hospital bed, like, in and out of the back of your car.
I only went on maternity leave. I went like 5 weeks early because my back was just so sore that I just could not walk around anymore. But I was at home being like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, you know, because we're all really good friends at my age. And so they are my best friends. They're like my social friends. So I was still like chatting to them all the time. And we use a program where we communicate called Slack, and like anyone, people have heard of it. Like, I never signed out of it on maternity leave, like, at all. And then they were like, are you going to like shut down your inbox? And I was like, why would I shut my inbox down? And Gemma was like, but don't you want to go? I'm like, well, no one's going to email me if I don't have any listings. And if they do, I'll just respond. And she was like, oh, I thought you would like want to remove everything from online. And I was like, no. So it was funny because the girls were like, I thought you would just like want to disappear like from the, and I was like, no. Like, so I never really signed out of anything. I wasn't doing work, but like I didn't really like fully like sign out. I just was like, you know, I was like, you know, if my clients want to call me, they can still call me. But I don't have any listings live on the web. So I
still was texting you for real estate advice.
And I kind of enjoyed that because any mums will know, like, when you're at home with a baby and you're a social person, you actually want to talk to people, you know? So I was quite happy to have, like, you know, people contact me here and there and chat about real estate things. And, you know, I like melding my two worlds together. Yeah. I like to do real estate and do life, like, at the same time. At the same time.
Yeah. I hear it a lot where a lot of people say that you can't have it all. Like, you can't have, you know, if your career, be really successful in your career and also have like a family and time off and all this jazz. What would you say to that? Like, what do you think?
As someone who went back into real estate last time with an 8-month-old baby as a single mum, I tried to have it all as a single mum and it was like super, super tough. This time around, I have a really supportive partner and I really feel like I can have it all because, you know, he's there. And, you know, I'm here at the podcast today and he's at home with Maxie, you know, and I don't feel guilty because he's not in daycare. You know, when he's not with me, he's with Dad. Yeah. And he runs his own business, so we can switch in and out. And so for me, it feels so easy to be back at work because I have someone to support me. I have someone in my corner. And I think if you have a supportive partner and a supportive family as well, you can have it all. But can you have it all trying to do it all yourself? No, you can't. No. And you shouldn't have to.
No, we're meant to have a village.
Yeah.
And whatever that village looks like.
Some people have like
partners, friends, you know, your neighbours, whatever it is. But I think that's so totally
like I know Kate has her parents, you know, they have her girls quite a lot, like in the afternoons and drop them off at daycare and do things like that. And Kate's been very successful in, you know, not having one but two little kids and going back to work. And again, like she has a really supportive family. And I think, you know, that's really at the end of the day, like you can have it all. Like what I would say is that going back to real estate this time, I've employed another person in my team as well. And that's been amazing because I wanted to maintain the same level of service to my clients. And I knew that, okay, well, I am going to be pressed to do that. So I paid for somebody else to come into my team. I've invested in that. And what that means is that there's a cost there associated with running my business. But for me, if it means that I can be happy at work and my clients are happy, then that's fine, because where I'm at in my business now is it's not about making the maximum amount of dollars. It's not even about like being the number one agent in the area. For me, it's about enjoying doing my work my clients are happy, and my results are still good enough that I can afford to employ everyone in my team. And so my goals have changed. I think if I was trying to be the number one agent in the entire area, then it would probably be hard to then still have family life.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you've got to adjust your goals to suit where you are in life.
Do you have I know we've spoken about this, Pegs, but do you have a sale that really sticks like as your most memorable, or tell us a bit of a story?
Yeah, I had a really nice sale over COVID for a really lovely local couple, and they were just lovely. You know, he'd built the house. They'd had it for, I don't know, nearly probably 30 odd years. They'd raised their kids there, and they just came in and they said, you know, we've been referred to you. We want to sell. What do you think it's worth? And we're happy to be guided by you. So they put their trust in me right away from the start. And that's something that I really value when people do that. That really means a lot to me. And I said to them, you know, because it's COVID and it's really busy, I want to try and auction your place. And I had sort of said to them, you know, I think your house is probably worth around 1.2, worst case 1.1, maybe 1.3, but let's do an auction and let's see how it goes. And at the time, the lady was so lovely. She goes, oh, really, 1.2? Wow. She was like, that would be so cool. You know, she was really excited. So we ran an auction campaign. It was at that time where a lot of people were buying sight unseen. We were doing like online, those virtual tours and things like that. Anyway, when we held the auction, it was an online auction. We weren't allowed to actually hold live auctions on site. And they were actually cool because people could just like hit a button and bid. So you could just be sitting there watching bids come in. It was a bit surreal. And I was sitting there with her, and I knew we had 11 people registered for the auction. So I knew it was going to be a really good auction. I was like super excited. And I was just thrilled because I knew it was going to sell on the day. And I said, like, no matter what happens, we're going to sell the house today. And they were just like, you know what? She was so sweet. She said, well, we're just so happy, and, you know, whatever happens, we're just happy. We're just happy with you, and we're just happy. And they both said that, you know, and that was just so nice. Before the auction, you know, they were just happy with the whole process. And anyway, we sat down and the bids were going, and it went past 1.2, and she was like, oh my God, you know, and then it went past 1.3, and she was like, oh wow, and then it went past 1.4, and she turned to me and she said, my house isn't worth this much money. I said, well, it is now. And anyway, it sold over 1.5 million.
Oh my gosh.
And so it far exceeded everyone's expectations, and it meant that they could purchase a property that they really wanted, and they had the money left over. And I really loved that for them because, you know, they built the house and they just lived in it with their family. They weren't people that had, you know, invested in property a ton of times. They never bought and sold property. They had put their heart and soul and everything that, you know, into this one house, and it just really paid off for them. So it was really great. Like, it was really, really nice, and they could not have been more deserving. So that was a really good one.
Do you have a funny story?
Yeah, most shocking or embarrassing?
You know what?
Not necessarily for you, but like,
I don't actually. I have so many funny stories. They're not actually things that have happened to me. But yeah, I have some really funny stories. I'm just trying to think. Like, there's a couple. I won't name who the agent was. I've never really had anything that embarrassing happen to me, to be honest. Like,
damn it.
No, I know. There was one agent that I used to work with, and one of the funny stories that happened with that agent is that she was showing back. We used to show people back in the day, but now when people inquire online, they just inquire on one property or two properties. But rewind 10, 15 years ago, people would come down, you drive them around in your car, and you'd show them like 10 houses, and you'd be with them for the whole day.
Yeah.
Remember those days?
Yeah.
Anyway, she had been showing these people a bunch of houses, and they'd been following her in their car. And at one point, she obviously forgot and went in and ordered Chinese from a takeaway. And they came in afterwards and said, like, you know, are we still looking at houses? So
I'm getting my honey chicken.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I love that story. I thought that was hilarious. There was one other time as well where one of the agents that I used to work with was showing one of the other agents in the office's listing, and it was an off-market listing. And they'd had this thing where she said, well, you pull up, and then the neighbour will give a wave, and then you can go in. Anyway, the agent was in their casual clothes, you know, because it was their day off, but they were still showing the property. And they pull up, the neighbour waves. She's like, cool. She goes in, opens the front door. She's talking to the buyer to show her the house, and she could hear the shower running, and she's like, why would the shower be running? Anyway, she was in the wrong house. So she had she had taken the buyer into the wrong house. The neighbour had just randomly waved, even though it wasn't the right person. She was in the wrong house with the buyer. Anyway, suffice to say, the owner of the house thought that she was crazy and was like, please
leave my house.
Yeah, so that was hilarious. Like, love that. I would have been so mortified. Like, thankfully, nothing like that has happened to me today, but there was some really funny.
When I was measuring for blinds, we went to this, like, it was fully booked in, a time given and everything. And me and my colleague got to the property and like knocked on the door. We're waiting. We're like, oh, maybe the person's not there. We knocked one more time. We're about to leave. And he comes rushing to the door, butt naked, just wrapping his towel around him. We were like,
hello?
This was booked. Like, we gave you the time and everything. Like, what are you doing?
Did he say sorry?
He just like blew it off. Like, it was nothing.
Like, come in.
Oh my God. Some people are so funny. You know what? I have had some really awkward moments with tenants, not with homeowners, but where like an open home's been booked and they knew it was booked, and then like one in particular, I had all these people come in and we opened the door and a guy was just asleep in his bed, and I was like, mate, like, what the hell? Like, he was under the doona with his hair coming out, and I like opened the door and was like, and he goes, oh, and I was like, there's an open home on, and he goes, oh, just rolled over, and I was like, wow.
Oh my God.
And that was pretty awkward. I was like, not a fan of that. And
you can't see bedroom 2 today.
Yeah, I was just like, this, like, you can open that door if you want, but there's someone in there. And it wasn't rented through our agency at the time too, so I kind of felt like the agent that was managing it that didn't get the listing was like not trying to help us in any way.
Can you just sleep in the bed?
I know. I was like, that's so awkward. There's been a tenant.
He was a paid actor.
There's definitely been some
hilarious.
you know what? That would actually be such a plot twist.
Yeah.
But like, there's been some awkward moments with tenants for sure, but not so much owners.
What excites you about the future of our local property market?
You know what it really excites me is with the new development that's going on, the idea that we're going to have like more restaurants, more cafes, like more tourist facilities. I'm really excited.
Em wants dancing.
I want dancing.
I want dancing.
Yes.
I want dancing. I love the idea of like them spending more money on developing our coastal like foreshore area, just with activities for families and kids, like nightlife. It doesn't have to be clubs.
No.
Just like, music in the evening, nice cafes,
Beautiful.
nice, restaurants. Like public transport would be good.
Yeah.
Like you want to go out and have a few drinks with dinner and you can't get home.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited for there to be more action down here. And I think that will come with the development, and then that will in turn bring more people, which will continue the growth of the area. So facilities, more facilities is what excites me. Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you wish every buyer or seller knew before entering the market?
I think for buyers, my piece of advice would be pick a couple of agents that you like and really honestly tell them what you're looking for and keep in contact with them, because we can really help you if we know how much you have to spend, what you're looking for. I think what happens now is that people are so funny about telling us those details, and it's like, well, I can't like suggest properties to you / let you know about off-market listings. People will say to me things like, I know it when I see it. Like, that's not helpful to me. That does not help me help you.
Do you want me to show you every single thing?
Yeah, or I'll say, what sort of price range are you in? And they'll say, well, that depends on the house. And I'll be like, okay, so $3 million. And they're like, well, not that much. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your budget? Like, it's like,
budget's a big one, isn't it?
We can't force you to spend your money. Like, if you want us to help you, you need to let us know what you're looking for, and I think that would be a big thing. I think as a buyer, if you have a couple of agents that you trust and you're very transparent about what you're looking for, those agents can actually put you front and center to listings before they go live to market. And they will actually genuinely want to help you and make your buying process a lot easier. And I think for sellers, the big piece of advice that I would say is like when you are going to sell your house and you are researching an agent, your first question should not be, what is your commission? What the agent charges should not be what you're using to pick the person who's going to sell your most valuable asset. You can go now onto realestate.com and you can see all of the agents in the entire area. If you click on the agents tab, you can see all the agents, how many properties they've sold, what the average sale price is, how long it takes them to sell a property. You can see all of their reviews. Like, there is a wealth of information out there for you, for God's sakes. Like, before you pick an agent, research them. The cheapest commission should not be the one that you're going for. You should be looking for an agent that has experience, who is selling property, and an agent that is that has shown that they sell property in your area as well. I think that's not really just important.
How many properties they list.
No, and you know
and
what?
For what price?
The thing is as well, and I always say this to people, is if you are going for an agent that negotiates their commission down, if they can't even negotiate their commission, why do you want them negotiating for the sale of your house?
So
you know,
true.
like the number one thing that you hire an agent to do is negotiate for you. You know, so I think it's really important that people do understand that. And guess what? You don't pay us until we bring you a result anyway. So when it comes down at the end of the day and you look at the difference in commissions, it's not that much money but the difference in the agent that you get for the cutting down of your commission. I think that's the biggest thing. Really look for the agent who has the skills. And there's usually 2 or 3 agents that stand out in a particular location. Get those 3 agents in. If you get the 3 top performing agents in your location out, you will find a lot of their strategy will be similar. What some people will do is they literally will just ring and say, what's your advertising? What's your commission? And they will just ring each agency and pick their agent based off that. And then they'll go, oh, it's really funny because in my appraisals, there's been a difference of like 300,000. I'm like, that's because you've got some agents that really don't know the market in your area, that aren't selling in your area, that have given you a price that's not accurate. And so that would be the biggest thing, is do your research. Realestate.com domain, they are spending so much money to give the owners of property and the sellers, like the buyers and the sellers, so much information.
Yeah.
You guys have the tools and the information now. 20 years ago, you had to rely on what we said. Now you can, it's all there. Use it.
Yeah. What did I see on your page or something that like people are even asking chat to like compare like agents?
Like what's the best agent in the area, who has the highest average sale price? And I think that's really cool because I'm all about information.
Yes.
I'm all about information. So I think that's really good. So and the other thing is too that I've noticed is that some agents are not publishing their listing prices. You know, they're gatekeeping what they're selling things for. I just think if you have agents that you trust and an agent that you keep in contact with, whether you're selling or whether you're buying, that agent can provide you even information that's not online. And so picking an agent that you like and building a relationship with that agent will look after you. They'll be able to give you that information that you can't even get from the websites. And that's the kind of information that I try to keep my clients in touch with, you know, what's actually transacting, what it's actually transacting for. And sometimes they'll ring me and say, hey, this one in my area sold. They might not even be selling at that time, but they'll just ring me and say, this one in my area sold and it went heaps cheaper than what we thought. Like, why do you think that was? And then I can say, you know what it was? It was actually this, or it had termites, or it was, you know, it's actually a small block, or it has a pipe going through the back, which means you can't build a shed on it. So if you really want to keep in touch with values in your area, if you have an agent that you like, they will actually keep, whether you're selling right then or there or not, they will actually be that person that can keep in touch with you. So, you know, there's a lot of value there, I think, to align yourself with somebody.
So as someone that works in sales myself,
yes,
I often feel like people, they come to me, they've already got their back up, like ready for the, you know, the pitch, because we traditionally have like a bit of a slimy, like sleazy vibe apparently. But so also so slimy, like back on, like, you know,
you're definitely not slimy.
We're just here for the dollar though, aren't we, Peg?
Oh my God. I tell you what, like, you know, if you were only in it for the money, you would want to be earning a lot more. That's all I'll say. But
I think it can feel icky from both sides. And like a lot of our listeners are business owners. And so I think that they obviously need to be able to sell their product or their service, whatever it might be. Can you give me some advice, or give them some advice on like how they can go about that without like feeling pushy or salesy, these sorts of things? Yeah.
And so this is a really big thing, because even back way ages ago when I was a retail manager and I used to train people on they'd say, I don't want to sell to people. I don't want to tell people that a pair of jeans look good when they don't. And I say, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You know, if you focus on needs-based selling, all you have to do is, you don't have to worry about selling anything. All you have to do is uncover what the client needs and then provide that value to them. Because everybody, like, people come into your business for a reason. They don't walk in there for no reason. So whatever product that you're selling or whatever service you offer, when a client comes into you, they have a need. Your job is to uncover that need and then provide the solution. It's not about sales at all. And if you know in your business that you're good at what you do, then you should feel proud to offer that solution, and you should also know that that is benefiting your customer. And that's something that I discuss often with the girls in my team is I say, you know what, I'm really proud of how hard we work, and I know that if someone lists with us, that we will do everything to get them a good result. So I actually am going to go in there and really try to get that business, because I know that if they list with me, I'm going to look after them. If they don't list with me and they list with some of the other agents, I know they're not going to get that service. So I'm actually happy to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you. It's not actually about sales. It's about saying, I can help you. This is what I can do. And then if they don't want the help, that's okay too. And I think if you're not invested in making a sale for the sake of a sale, then it takes the ick out of it as well. Because you're just saying, this is how I can help you. And if they don't want your help, you're like, that's cool. That's totally fine as well, you know? So not having that attachment, I think, to the outcome and being passionate about what it is, what value you can provide that client. And then if the value is there, they will buy in.
I think you said it a lot as well, like educating people.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And so,
I find a lot of the time, like I'm not even selling, like it's just very conversational. And then they'll go, like there was one that was really funny last year. This couple came into one of my open houses and they really liked it. And they were like, oh, so we've had an appraisal from this agent, we've had an appraisal from that agent. And like, you know, we're just really confused because this person said this and this person said that. And I said, well, you know, who were the people? And I said, well, this is what they've said, right? This is what you have to watch out for. This is my concern. And I was just literally going through and giving them, you know, insider information about the appraisals they'd received. And then I wasn't really trying to do an appraisal myself. I don't know why, but I don't know. I just really wasn't going for it at that moment. And then they went, would you give us an appraisal? And I was like, yeah, I can. Yeah. You know, and it was one of those funny moments where like, you don't actually have to even sell if you're providing that value, if you're genuinely keen to help somebody, or if you're happy to provide some information to them and you're just about giving them,
it's like, you know, adding that value.
Yeah, you know, and like I wasn't trying to do it to get something. I was genuinely like, they've been given a really bad appraisal, and if they lease with that person, it's going to be a really bad time because the agent had given them, you know, just a bum steer with a few different things, which was typical of that person. And so I was just like more being like, you know, no matter who you go with, just don't do that, you know, like, and I'm sure you've done the same thing in your industry. Like, even if you don't want to build with us, like, just don't do that, you know?
Yeah, or like, do this, please. Yes. Before you buy that block or whatever.
And I think that's right. Yeah. And you know, they just genuinely were like, we actually want you to help us. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'm happy to. Ended up listing their property, selling it in a week so they could buy the property that they'd come through the open home on, you know.
So good.
And again, like, it wasn't salesy. It was just genuinely like answering questions and being curious about how I could help them.
Yeah. So with like rejection, because like obviously when a business owner is selling like their product, it's like their idea, it's their service. So it can, if the person says, no, thanks. It can be like, it can almost feel personal. And I know we just like recently touched on this. Yeah. And obviously it comes with experience, but with that work that you've done, how have you been able to get over that? It's not me as a person. Yeah. It could be XYZ or.
I mean, I don't really get rejected very often anymore. I got rejected a lot when I first started.
Too good.
I got rejected so hard. Like,
but do you think that's now because people just seek you because they know you as a
that's
seller?
Right. You know, I genuinely have people ring me and they're like, we want you to sell a house. I'm not competing against a bunch of different agents. But when I was first an agent, and Christine left and then I started, my boss said, well, you're going to have this area and that's your area to sell. And that was also Christine's area. And she was like the number one agent. Ooh. And so every appraisal I went to for 12 months, like literally none of them went with me because Christine went in and said, oh, she's only 21 and she just started. And they were so sweet. They would ring me and be like, we thought you were great. We just thought you were so
keep
great.
Going, babe.
It's so funny. We should actually try and get Chris on the podcast to rebut this.
It's so funny because she said to me in the office last year, she was like joking around. She goes, who is the person that you just was like your nemesis that you just wanted to be?
You.
And she goes, I go, it was you. And she goes, oh, you bitch. And I was like, it was you. You were my biggest competitor. And she goes, I forgot about that because she's been out of it for a while. And she's like, yeah, you beat me on a few of them. She goes, I hated you. And like, you know, and we're having such a laugh about it because it's like, you know, you do get rejected. Like, that's the number one thing I think in any sales role when you start out, is that you get rejected so hard all the time. And I think, look, the thing that I would say is, when I was getting rejected back then, I actually wasn't able to offer a lot of value back then because I did not have the experience. And so it was only normal and only natural that I was going to get rejected because I was new. I didn't have that value of experience, right? And I still won some, which was really good. And it took me a while to build up that experience and those results to where that didn't happen. If you're selling a product, for example, because real estate's very different because you're selling someone's home. You don't have any control over the product, like what it looks like, what it's priced at. You know, it's really a different selling than anything else that I've ever done, because I've also worked in banking and sold banking. I've worked in retail, so I've worked in other sales areas. I think if you're working in a business and you're selling a product and you're getting rejected on a product, what I would say is that you're probably not uncovering a need first. So I think it can be very different. Like, if there's a need, you're always going to be able to make the sale unless your product is positioned price-wise like incorrectly. Whereas with real estate, I would say, you know, where you get rejected in real estate is like, say you've gone in for a listing and there's another agent that's equally as good as you in your location and they go with them. When those kind of things happen, if I lose to a good agent, I just go, you know what, that agent's also really good. And that's okay, because you're not going to win everything.
Yeah.
You know, I want to work with the clients that want to work with me. And I've also learnt now is that sometimes a rejection is a blessing. Like, if a client's not choosing you and you're trying so hard to win them over, like, there's been some where, like, I've fought really hard. They've ended up being
the worst,
the most difficult transactions, because it's like you're on the back foot from the get-go. That person's like, you prove yourself to me, and you're always proving. Whereas if you're aligning yourself in business and you're being chosen by someone who likes you and what you bring to the table, it's more enjoyable, because not everyone likes everyone.
No.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
there's a
life.
love business for everybody. I think you'd really need to let go of wanting to be liked and chosen by everybody, because that's just not realistic.
Great advice.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Do you have a quote that you live by?
I like the quote, diamonds are made by pressure. So pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
I have a diamond tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
And I like that. Like, you know, when things are getting really tough, I think, you know, all that, like, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Like, just like, don't give up, keep going. You know, the other one that I really, really, really like is it's always darkest before the dawn. So, like, before something really good is about to happen, before you're about to up level in something, sometimes you'll have like a series of events that are really irritating or frustrating, where you just start thinking like, oh,
am I doing the right thing?
on?
Yeah.
And then it's usually right after that you have a breakthrough, and it's like just recommitting. Like, every time you become uncertain, like, realign, recommit, and just stick with it. Because I think mastery is about coming back time and time again, rather than, you know, when it's difficult. Yeah. So going, you know, I can't do this anymore. Obviously you have those thoughts of like,
the thoughts are normal.
I'm not doing this
I'm
anymore.
very action to actually not.
Yeah.
And you know what I always say as well, like, especially having worked with so many different people in the industry down here, I've worked with so many good agents like over the years. Like, if you haven't cried in the office, if you haven't had a conversation with one of your colleagues about like quitting the industry at least a couple of times, like, you're not going hard enough. Like,
exactly.
That's just like normal behavior. Like, I love my job, I hate my job. I love my job. Like, that's just normal. That's just normal.
If you weren't an agent, what would you be doing, do you think? Like, what's your...
I love like the self-help industry. Like,
Yes.
I love like coaching and like motivational goal setting, like all that stuff. I think that if I wasn't a real estate agent, then I would probably want to be coaching other people in sales, or coaching people, like mentoring and motivating people. Like, definitely enjoy that side of it as well.
Cool.
That's cool.
And do you have something that might shock and surprise the listeners about yourself?
I feel like I put so much on social media now that's
Nothing
like
shocking.
And I literally was born here, so everyone
knows.
Everyone just knows everything.
She's an open book.
I am. I'm not very secretive. I wish I was more secretive. I think some surprising things. Like, I'm actually really sensitive. like a lot of people think that I'm, especially if they haven't gotten to know me well, like, you know, even the girls like Megan, who we're quite good friends now at my age, and she's like, oh, my vision of who you were as a person versus what you're actually like is so different. She's like, I thought that you would just be a bitch. And she's like, and sometimes you are a bitch, but she's like, but you're really like loving and like caring, and, you know, I'm very sensitive. Like at my core, I am a sensitive person, whereas I think sometimes I can come across as like really staunch, but no, I'm like a little teddy bear. Like I love holding hands. And I'm very romantic. I'm very romantic. Poor Cameron.
She's taken though.
Yeah,
guys.
I'm very like I'm just like, you know, I'm definitely like, I'm a cuddler. I'm a hugger. Like I'm that. Yeah, that's there's that like side of me that I think people are surprised to know that side of me. And like at work I'm so regimented and so like, but at home I'm sort of like go with the flow, like, you know, I don't make all the decisions at home. I don't want to make all the decisions. Like I'm sort of like, whatever you know, I'm like I say to Cameron all the time, I don't know, whatever you think. And he like wants me to make decisions, whereas at work it's all like, sometimes Sam will say to me, I just feel like if it's not your way, that you're just not going to like it. And I'm like, So like, you know, I think, you know, I am a bit different outside of work. I'm a bit like blasé, and, you know, whereas in work I can be very, you know. So maybe that's my surprise.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on.
It's okay. It's been fun.
Great chat.
Oh no, I enjoyed it.
If anyone's thinking of selling a house, you know where to find her.
Yes, you know where I am.
Like, follow, share,
subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and that's about it.
Follow us on social media.
We'll see you next time.
Catch ya.
Bye.
Bye.